Migrant Leaders Mentors. Tonight's webinar is particularly special. This is part of our Migrant Leaders quarterly webinars for our mentors. And today is the first time that we bring one of the schools that we work with to meet you all. Wembley High Technology College is really special for us because they were the first school that Migrant Leaders started working with 5 years ago. I remember talking to Tom Best, their head teacher, who kindly welcomed me 5 years ago into their school to do a talk to their year 12s and 13s. They are extra special for a couple of reasons, at least. One, because the cohort of young people in year 12 and 13 that we welcomed into our Migrant Leaders program now 5 years later have graduated from university and are getting their first graduate jobs. So we're seeing the fruits of our Migrant Leaders program with the first cohort from Wembley High Technology College. And also Wembley High Technology College is a particularly high performing school. Their students are really exceptionally focused, exceptionally talented and aspirational, and Wembley High produces excellent results. I won't say any more because that will be part of the introduction. So really tonight, what is special about tonight is that I wanted to bring something to the mentors that they may not have seen before. One of the benefits of our work in Migrant Leaders is that we get to meet in the communities, we get to talk to teachers, communities, students, and we really see the realities as they are. And I wanted to bring some of that insight to our Migrant Leaders mentors this evening. So thank you for joining us. And without any further ado, I shall pass to the Wembley High Technology College head teacher, Tom Best.
Hi everyone, good evening. I'm Tom Best, I'm head of school at Wembley High Technology College. In a moment, I'm going to hand over to our executive head teacher, Paul, but just a couple of things from me. Since 2016, it's been my absolute pleasure to be working at Wembley High Technology College. And our students who are in sixth form are the most ambitious, hardworking, resilient, kind students that you could ever make, and I absolutely know that they're going to be the people that make the world a better place. And one thing that really stands out for me about Migrant Leaders is that it really gives them the power of connection, and I think it's a really fantastic thing. I'm going to hand over to Paul Bhatia now, who's our executive head teacher. He's going to introduce what our school's really all about. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Tom. Thanks, Elham. And I think a big thank you to all of you who are part of the Migrant Leaders program and who are giving up your time and your expertise to help our students. I'm going to give you a little bit of context about our school and about our school's journey. You'll have to forgive a proud exec head, and you'll get this from all of us, I'm afraid. We are very, very proud of our school. So, Elham, forgive me if I do a bit of a braggy number around this first, because I do want the team to understand what our school's about and what a unique place it is. And I also want people to understand the unique opportunity for social change that a program like Migrant Leaders affords to not just the students. The students learn a huge amount from our mentors, but actually I think there's something in all of us as individuals that actually cries for us to actually help other people. Emma, I'm going to be all right without that for a moment, if that's okay. I'll just catch people's faces if that's okay for a second there. I think there's something in all of us that actually wants to make social change happen. There's a part of us in our souls, and you'll hear this from teachers, but I think it's in anybody, regardless of the sector that you work in, that we're not fully complete as human beings unless we're giving something back to society, unless we're giving something back to the world. You heard Tom mention the phrase there, make the world a better place. That's something we talk to our children about a lot. We know that they're going to work really hard. We know they're going to get great grades. They're going to go to great universities. we hope with your assistance they'll get amazing jobs. But we always say that the purpose behind that is not just to fill your own pockets, it's to give something back to this world that we live in, this fragile world that we live in, and make it a better place. And I think Migrant Leaders is a program that affords all of us as people, as adults who are involved in it, to help do that. That's a vehicle for us. Wembley High, a very unique school. Our motto is achievement for all. It has been that for quite some time there. Our motto is achievement for all, and it's something we actually believe. We believe that through the power of education, if you refine what you're doing in the classroom, if you refine what you're doing in your institution, children can achieve things that, frankly, national metrics have no way of capturing. They can go way beyond what we believe. We believe that children are full of potential, and if you can believe in them and set really high expectations and then adapt what you do intelligently, amazing things can happen. And that's really been the story of Wembley High over the years. It was once, many moons ago, a very challenging school. We did not get great results, and now we're talking back over about 15 years ago. But we've had some head teachers along the way and some leadership along the way, and our CEO has been a big driver in this. She coined the phrase achievement for all, and that's been sort of underlying our drive all the way through. And we've really sort of focused on getting what we call the golden ticket for our children, which for us means amazing qualifications and amazing skills. And it's borne some fruit. Typically, students at Wembley High achieve 2 grades higher than their peers do nationally. Our results are amongst the highest in the country. Our progress is amongst the highest in the country. And we have been amongst the top 10 highest performing schools in the country for the last 6, 7, really probably for the last decade, Tom. I think I'm about right in saying that we've been there with it. So the results really are very high indeed. We outperform a lot of independent schools. We outperform a lot of private schools. Now, this is all the more remarkable when you think about the context of the community we serve. A lot of our children are coming from first-generation immigrant families. English will not necessarily be the language spoken at home. It's entirely possible that parents aren't always literate in English as well. The sort of social benefits that a lot of children in this country will take for granted, meaning having a network of professionals that your parents know and will connect you with, that's just something that is completely absent from a lot of our students' lives. Wembley, we serve an area will be officially classed as an area of deprivation. There is often multiple occupancy in households, very cramped conditions. We would not say that our families come from particularly wealthy backgrounds. We make it our point in our school to provide the students with uniforms, with lots and lots of books and materials for them to work with at home, because we know that if we don't do that, that will become a barrier to learning for our children. And then we teach them really, really well. Now, all of this is very personal to me, because I also am from a background where my parents, I was very fortunate that my parents were passionate about education. You know, more than anything else, they wanted their children to learn and learn really, really well. They absolutely put all their faith in the UK education system, and that and they knew that if their kids went through it and did well in that, then doors would open. Doors that were absolutely slammed shut on them would open for their children. And whether I liked it or not, they took me through that process and that system. And I've had the life that I've had and the opportunities I've had because of the education afforded to me. It's exactly the same for a lot of our parents. They've overcome challenges which is hard to talk about without feeling emotional. Okay. And they've leveraged all of that on their children's on their education. So we are fortunate they come from that background. I relate to that background. And I'm really proud to be part of an institution that delivers such amazing results, that golden ticket for our children. But that, unfortunately, is only half the story. You see, Tom, Katherine, Emma, myself, we're keen educators. We know how to do the business in the classroom, and we can show people how to do the business in the classroom. We can get those results from our children. But you and I know that that's only part of the journey. That will take them up into university, that will take them up into some amazing job opportunities. But there is a whole skill set and there is a whole set of knowledge that educators struggle with providing. And that's the blunt fact of it. We think we're pretty good with careers in our school, and we are. We give some really great advice to our kids, but there is a reality that we are teachers. Okay, and the government has become aware of this, and the government has had an awareness around this for quite some time. And the government strategy has been to link educators with professionals, be that through the charity sector, but often directly as well, and hope for something to happen, to hope for that connection to happen, for children to have that extra spark of information from people who are actually at the coalface, who actually do deal with the world of work. And that's been the direction of travel for it. But the reality is that does not, and that cannot happen unless there are organizations like Migrant Leaders leveraging the expertise of professionals out there in industry and the expertise at schools, in schools who are providing children with those qualifications. So we're very, very proud to be providing our children with the qualifications, but we absolutely need migrant leaders and organizations like Migrant Leaders, but I don't know another organization quite like Migrant Leaders. So we need people like Migrant Leaders who are able to give that time and provide that education to our kids. And I said that this is personal, and it really is. Sometimes I feel like I'm working to fill a gap that I felt when I was our students' age, and our kids will talk about it. When I talk to them about it, it's deeply personal because I remember being their age. I remember being I was in a grammar school. I got into a grammar school, and I had a strong education, but I did not know anything about what the job market was like. Okay, I was off a background where if you weren't going to be an engineer or a lawyer or a doctor, if you weren't doing something that was directly vocational, then what job will you possibly do? And I remember the shock on my parents' faces when I said I want to go to university and study politics. And they said, well, what are you going to do then? And I said, well, okay, I better do politics and economics then, hadn't I? And they were slightly placated. But in my family background, we did not have that information. And that's the same story out here. So Migrant Leaders plugs that gap for us in a massive, massive way. And that's why we need you. We need your expertise in mentoring, because that one-to-one relationship with a child where you can connect with a young person and understand their context and provide bespoke advice to them, that's life-changing. We need the opportunities for our children to go into the workplace and have a feel of the workplace. They don't have that. Yeah, they don't have that in their everyday life. They don't sit at a dinner table with parents, friends coming over who are lawyers and who are doctors who can provide them with that. And they have to compete with people who do have that. And you imagine, you know, the backgrounds they're coming from. If we genuinely believe, and I think everyone on this call does believe this, if we genuinely believe in social change, then we have to acknowledge that education alone, while it's the golden ticket, it's not enough to capitalize on that. We have to systematically be providing those that don't have those opportunities in the workplace with those opportunities in the workplace. And that's exactly what we're looking to you in Migrant Leaders to help us provide. And beyond that, beyond the mentoring, beyond the work experience opportunities you'll be able to provide, there's one intangible thing which is critical for our children. You are role models. Our children need to see you. They need to be able to talk to you. They need to understand your story. They need to understand the challenges you faced getting to where you are today. They need to feel your empathy and your belief in them. And as role models, you can be absolutely life-changing for our children. So again, I guess I'll just finish by saying thank you to everyone for being on this call, and thank you for giving up your time to make this happen for our children.
Paul, thank you so much. What a compelling story and argument for collaboration between industry and the education sector. Thank you, Paul. And one of the things that I was thinking about as you were talking, Paul, is a statistic that came out about a year ago, which said that graduates of a disadvantaged background earn half the starting salary of graduates of a privileged background. And that's just at the beginning of their lives, when they should be starting at least from the same starting point, and then we'll see some differences. But the only reason why graduates of a deprived background would be earning half the starting salary of privileged graduates has got to be connections. Has got to be connections and all the decision support and insights that they got along the way, and access to top jobs in top companies. And that's exactly the problem that we're trying to solve in Migrant Leaders, so that all young people, whatever their background, can achieve their full potential. So I'm really, really, once again, grateful to be working with Wembley High Technology College. I think we're next going to move to a very exciting part of our agenda, which is our panel discussion in relation to how education can better serve as a lever for social mobility for such families. And I'm going to pass to Emma Woods and Katherine Mann, who will be chairing the panel with a few Wembley High Technology College students as well. Thank you both.
Thank you. Just, I guess, to elaborate on what you have both just very nicely explained, we just have a bit of literature and a bit of evidence to support what you've just been saying again. So, for example, evidence has shown that by the age of about 14, students have already got these fixed ideas about what their career could be. And so that's a big thing that we are trying to change when we're reaching out to you, is trying to change the mindset of what is the career that students can achieve from our school, and what can they go on to do. And so we've got 3 students who I will pass you over to in a second, who are here to speak to you about some of the experience that they've had working with migrant leaders and some of the work experience opportunities that they have had as well.
Good afternoon, evening, everyone. Thank you so much for giving up your time. I'm Katherine Mann. I'm Deputy Head Teacher here at Wembley High, and I look after these lovely Year 12 ladies you can see in front of you there, as well as many, many more who aren't here and won't fit on the screen. Girls, are you able to just tell us, take it in turn, so tell us a little bit about yourself, including your career aspirations? I don't know how you're going to work that out between yourselves, but I'm sure you can manage.
Hi, my name is Connie, and I'm studying biology, chemistry, geography, and psychology in S levels, and I'm interested in pursuing a career in clinical psychology.
Hi, my name is Ruchi, and I am currently studying biology, chemistry, geography, and maths. And my aspiration is to become a geneticist and work in a lab. Hi, my name is Lopsika, and I'm doing maths, further maths, economics, and art. And I'm not sure on a specific career I want to go to, but I'm thinking about going and working with field of finance.
Fantastic, thank you very much. And can you tell us about any work experience programs that you've either completed or that you've applied for?
Due to COVID in Year 10, we didn't get much non-virtual work experience, but one of the virtual work experience I completed was with the military, and it allowed me to understand what happened in the military and how you do certain jobs. And it's also allowed me to think about whether I wanted to pursue a career within military.
Further on elaborating to the idea, COVID made me rethink about all the careers pathways that I would have wanted to go to, and I signed up to one of the webinars that Royal Veterinary Colleges did on microbiology, and I think the professors there really gave an insight into the subject and the field which I wanted to go in. From asking cousins and relatives on their objectives on what their careers like and how their careers work, I haven't applied for specific work experience yet because I'm still trying to find some. But I've been saving some work experience for HSBC. They're going to open their application soon, so I'm looking forward to apply to there soon.
That's great. Thank you very much, girls. Those of you who have done work experience, Connie, you told us where you went, but how has it impacted your future career decisions?
It didn't really impact what I wanted to do because I still wasn't fixated on what I wanted to do, and it wasn't that useful because virtual work experience, you're not physically there, so you're just on a screen and it's like you're listening to other people, but you can't really like put yourself out there. Whereas when you're in work experience, you're physically and mentally there, and it allows you to make those connections, and you can like communicate with people in different careers that you're interested in.
That's really helpful, thank you. What are the challenges with getting work experience? You've mentioned COVID and being online, but post-pandemic, in theory, what challenges are you facing when you're trying to get work experience in person, to any of you?
For the field I'm looking at right now, it's very competitive. So when I apply for them, most of the times I get rejected, and it's not like, I'm not sad about it, but at the same time, I wish there would be more options and I can actually find a work experience that I would really enjoy doing. I feel like the companies that do want to provide work experience are really competitive, and to get into one of those, you require a certain type of qualification and skills, but they do also look at which area or background you come from, and they give priorities to those who do not come from rail backgrounds. And adding onto it, some work experiences want you to have previous work experiences. So it's difficult to do work experience when you've got no background of work experience. And it's also harder to get into work experience when you don't have connections with people in certain career choices.
That was going to be my next question, actually. How many of you have got relatives, friends, neighbours in the sorts of industries you want to go into that might be able to facilitate? Maybe just raise your hand just quickly. Has anyone got anyone that they know personally who can help them get a piece of work placement in the career you want to go into? Fortunate, 1 out of 3. Okay, fantastic. Thank you very much. Girls, you were lucky enough to join Migrant Leaders conferences in December. We took some students to Smith and Nephew and to the Meta headquarters in London in December. And all 3 of you went on one of those trips. Can you just tell us a bit about how those visits, which one you went on first of all, and how those visits impacted your career goals and your next steps?
I went on the Meta trip, and they were talking a lot about marketing and all the career options within Meta, because normally a person thinking about Meta would only think about social media. There's actually different branches within Meta, and learning about the different branches like the AI technology and everything was really cool. And when we had to split up and do the specific tasks where we had to create our own ideas, it was very daunting to create an idea in front of everyone. But when we were working as a team, it was really enjoyable. And I think the most memorable experience from it was since for one of my teams, I created one of the ideas and everyone really liked the idea. I had to go in front of everyone and say the idea itself. Even though it was really nerve-wracking, the experience was really important, because in a workplace you would need to speak up confidently in front of people and get your ideas across.
And at Smith and Nephew, when you hear the name, you think, oh, it's medicine related, and you're not sure of like the other job offers. But when we went to the trip, we knew that there were psychologists, lawyers, people working in labs, people working in finance. But if I didn't go to one of these trips, I wouldn't have known what the offers were. And this has allowed me to think of the different variety of job offers within a small company, big companies as well.
Elaborating on what Carney said, Smith and Nephew really gave an insight into what working in a suitable environment that can juggle with all different careers. And one of the main things that was shocking was that they had IT technologists all the way to counselors and lawyers, which was really surprising, because it's a company that would supply medical equipment, and we would never have found out about areas like that.
That's fantastic, thank you. And in terms of the visits, you had to have conversations with people that you wouldn't normally have conversations with, and different experiences. Can you tell us a bit about the impact that's had on your confidence when it comes to applying for work experience opportunities?
It makes you a bit more comfortable because you're talking with people you haven't talked with before, and it gives you that first-hand chance of experiencing what it is like talking with people who are expertise in this work field. And you're not that confident when you walk in there, but you leave out feeling way more confident than you were, even if it's like a 5% increase, which means that if you are going to apply for other work experiences, you know what to say and you feel more confident on what you are going to say and do, which will make them give you that work experience.
When talking to people at Meta, learning about their job was really cool, as well as learning the skills they needed in order to do the job properly, such as communication skills and idea generation. Like, those are skills that employers normally look for. So through communicating with them, we actually knew what employers want. It doesn't really matter about the grades are important, but if you don't have the skills that employers live on, it's not really, they go both in hand.
Fantastic. What advice would you give to students who haven't had a chance to engage with work experience yet? So those who didn't make it on the Meta trip or the Smith and Nephew trip, or other forms of work experience?
One advice that I would give is that you should really put yourself out into the world, because I learned on the Meta trip that I have way more skills than I actually thought, and it really boosted my confidence.
And it's like, if you don't put yourself out there, you don't know what you're going to expect. It's like the phrase, do something scared, because without doing it, you're not what it's like.
Also, advice I'll give is that no matter how many times you get rejected, keep applying for them, because you never know, you might get one in the future and then actually enjoy that job, and you might actually pursue that in the future as well.
That is really fantastic. And I can tell just from the way that you've spoken this evening, very, very confidently online, that you have grown in confidence and really benefited from just a couple of days worth of experiences so far. And with that resilient attitude of keeping on going and applying, even when you don't get the first application, you're going to go far. Thank you so much, girls, for spending your time sharing with us, and well done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, Ellen, did you have any questions that you wanted to ask our students? If there's anything further that you would like to ask them, either about their work experience with Meta or something like that?
Thank you so much, Emma. I was really, more than anything, listening to them very carefully, because they are my customers, the students, really listening to what they got out of our Meta and Smith and Nephew days. And it was great to see where they thought is the biggest sources of value they derived from those experiences. And all I can say is there are more corporate experiences coming up, so watch out for that. And we are very excited to continue on this quest. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. And that's exactly why we have joined this call tonight, because we want to do this on a much bigger scale. We want to get as many of our students as possible to be able to do workplace visits, just like the 3 students that you've just heard from, going to as many different companies that we can do, so that we can show them a broader experience. I don't think Carney mentioned it just now, but earlier today when we were speaking, she said one of the benefits is you can actually see if that career is not good for you as well, and you can sort of test out in that way too. And that's something that we really want to allow and enable our students to be able to do. So is it okay if I pitch what it is that we're looking for now?
Please go ahead.
So what we're looking to try and organise is more trips, very, very similar to the Smith and Nephew trip and the Meta trip. And the reason why we want to do this is, as Paul mentioned, We have had our year 10s go out and do work experience in person this year. And that was really, really successful for most of our students. And just want to share with you some quotes, because obviously we gathered data back after they had done that work experience. And how we organised this, some students applied directly and they were able to find some work experience placements. But a lot of our students, as we said, they don't necessarily have the family connections. And so they were placed through a partner company. And if you just have a look at the bottom, the top one there, it says, I got sent to a nursery. I didn't really like it, miss. I wish I had been able to find something different. They want to experience different things because they know what perhaps working in a nursery might be like. And so that's what we want to enable to happen. Just going back to what you said earlier, Elham, and also Paul, about people not being able to progress into those top professions or those top earning salaries. I read a statistic the other day that students from independent schools are 80% more likely to go on to those top professional jobs. And often it's because they've got a family connection who can get them that work experience first and then be able to go forward on that. And so that's really what we want to change. Perhaps our students might not have those family connections. So we want to be able to provide that meaningful encounter for them and get them into these places so they can see, I can occupy this space too. This is a place that I can be working at. I belong here. And that's really what we would love your support with. As Katherine mentioned, a lot of our year 12s were able to go out, but we do have over 150 students in year 12, and actually only 100 students have been on a work experience placement so far. So we do want to be able to offer that to everybody in year 12. Equally, we would like to offer more opportunities for our year 10 students. So these would be younger, 14 or 15 years old, to be able to visit companies very much like the Smith and Nephew and Meta trip, so that they can see companies do have different roles. Companies do have an organisation structure. There are different career paths available to me. And it would be really, really, this is what we're hoping we would be able to do in the future, so that the students can go to a company, perhaps do a tour of the workplace, perhaps listen to different staff members talking about their careers and the challenges, as Paul mentioned, and how did they get into that career, or did they do something else first, and have we changed? Having a Q&A with staff members and asking those questions that perhaps they don't want to ask their teachers, or perhaps they can't ask other people at home because they don't have the space or the network to be able to do that. The students mentioned the practical tasks that they did at Meta and at Smith and Nephew, and the confidence that that has given them, and also the passion to come back to school and be like, this is where I'm going to go, and I'm going to work really hard, and now I'm going to go and do this extra, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to find out more. Just to be able to enable our students to do that is, I think, really, really powerful. And it would be wonderful if there is an opportunity for you guys to help with that. And if you do, I think Ellen mentioned that there'll be things coming up in the future, which is fantastic to hear. I'm really excited. Just going to stop sharing so that you can see again. Did you have any questions about that, Elham?
Yes, I think Emma, it's fantastic, and I think it's a very compelling reason why companies and our migrant leaders mentors should engage with helping you achieve these objectives. It's worth mentioning and clarifying that our migrant leaders program is for year 12s and year 13s. Therefore, we will use our usual channels with our corporate partners to deliver these work experiences for your year 12s and year 13s. But on year 10s, companies could work directly with you. We could pass on our connections to you and our corporate partners to you, so that perhaps they do visits to Wembley High Technology College individually and do career talks. They can talk to you yourself, Emma, about visits for your year 10s. So that can be independent of the Migrant Leaders program.
That would be absolutely fantastic if you can do that. That would be greatly appreciated. Especially we would love people to come into school and talk to the students and just tell them what is available and excite them about their future careers. So we would definitely love to have more of that.
Wonderful. So this webinar will be shared with all our Migrant Leaders mentors. I would encourage our Migrant Leaders mentors who want to do talks at Wembley High Technology College in person, or online, whichever you prefer, and indeed companies and mentors who would like to give work experiences of a day of work shadowing or a week of more structured work experience to year 10 students, just reminding our mentors that year 10 students are in their first year of GCSEs, that they can contact myself, let me know, and I will introduce them to yourself, Emma, at Wembley High Technology College.
Thank you so much for that. That would be really, really appreciated. I can see Paul's got a big smile on his face there. This is the gap that we've got. We do get the amazing results, some of the top results in the country, but we want the students to be able to go on then and take that to the next stage.
And I think to the students, I have a message as well. Know the value that you bring to the British economy. Know the value that you bring to these companies, because the benefit of what Migrant Leaders does isn't only that we help you fulfill your potential, because every time we've got amazing, talented young people who don't fulfill their potential, the British economy loses. The British economy loses. And if we do things that grows the British economy, everybody benefits. We grow the size of the pie, we grow the British economy, we get the best people to the right jobs, loving the jobs they do, being the best in those jobs, growing the economy together. Everybody then is prosperous and happy. This is good for everybody. So you guys, as a students, when you fulfill your potential, not only you're doing yourselves a favor and your families a favor, your communities a favor, but you're doing the British economy and companies a favor too. Everybody wins. That's why we've just got to do this and actually be less patient in regards to social mobility. We need to really forge ahead with social mobility because it's in everyone's interest.
Elham, could I just add something there? Would that be okay? Let me just lower my hand. Really what I wanted to do was give an idea of some of the feedback that we've had from some of the corporate partners that we've worked with, that we've taken students to. Essentially, they're looking to expand the diversity within their organisations and really use the information and knowledge that people from diverse backgrounds bring into industry. It's not just for them to look good, they're tick boxing. They actually use the knowledge and the experiences that people of diverse backgrounds bring to inform their products, their customer service, all of that sort of stuff. So it's not just a one-way street, it's a two-way street. So that's the sort of business side of it. On the other side of it is the sense of I can't think of a better word than well-being at the moment, but it's so uplifting for the corporate partners and the people that we work with to have school pupils into their organisations, to see the wealth of talent that there is out there and to see the potential. They see their, what's the phrase, Elham? I always forget this. They're, when they're planning for the future. Help.
I'm not sure what is the phrase, but I know exactly what you mean,
Yeah.
Fawzia. Sometimes we're sitting at the end of a really intensive day or 3 days with our corporate partners, and they are as motivated and energized as we are. That they love working with Migrant Leaders and working with the pupils.
Yeah, I've remembered it. Succession planning. They're seeing their future, their organization's future, and they're thinking, actually, if we think about the number of vacancies that organizations are desperate to fill now, it actually helps them realize that, there is hope in the future, and these young people are providing that hope. That's all I wanted to say.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much, Fawzia. And I would encourage anyone really on the call, including any of our mentors, to make any comments or ask any questions. Anything else that you'd like to discuss, please?
Elham, can I add a point here, just to echo what Fawzia said there. You know, when we talk about the experiences that our young people have in a school like ours, it's, you know, we've talked about where they will lack experience. They won't have that experience of workplaces. They won't have the experience of the networks that we all know open up doors for them. But Fawzia, what you're saying about that diversity element, and actually what a unique thing they do bring to the picture. We will have students who'll come out of this school with, you know, 15 grade 9s at GCSE. That's an A star for those of us in old money. They'll come out with 3 or 4 A stars at A level, absolutely spectacular grades. But there'll be something else as well. They may have been born in another country. They may have parents who've been through really challenging circumstances. They themselves may not have a resilience that's born from the workplace, but by God, they will have a resilience that's born from life. And we all know how valuable that is in the workplace. They'll speak multiple languages, not just the ones we teach in school, which, for your information, because Tom's a linguist here and he's going to want me to say this, are Spanish, French, Mandarin now, and Latin. How about that? So, you know, they'll have that range, but they'll also have home languages, home experiences. They'll have traveled to places which a lot of young people only go to if they get the opportunity to go on a gap year and, you know, do a bit of backpacking around the place. These are places which our young people will call home, and they'll see experiences and they'll see a part of the world and a slice of life in different continents that hugely enrich them and give them a depth of knowledge and empathy and understanding about the world, which is to be valued and in any organization should be cherished. It's just a shame that in our existing structures, so often that's lost, and that's lost from the workplace as well. So as we said at the beginning, we do everything we can to equip them academically to take the next stage, but we do need organizations to reach their hand out and say, come in here. We can make this a welcoming environment for you and really unlock that potential and that great benefit that comes to the organization of having children like ours working in your companies. The other thing I wanted to add there is that, Fawzia, you talked about the, and Elham, you did as well, the uplift that you get from working with young people. And I think you saw some of us as teachers there nodding. You know, our job is tough, but by God, it's made worthwhile by working with young people. They are humorous, they are intelligent, they're full of inspiration, and it is one of the healthiest things you can possibly do with your time. And I would say working with young people and mentoring young people, as much as we give to them, they give to us. And I know that's
I'll bring you an anecdote of why working with young people, for me especially, has been very useful for a variety of reasons. But one of those reasons I can tell you is it's improved my customer centricity and listening skills. And I'll tell you why, because I spent the last 10 years of my corporate career with EY advisory, client advisory. And grown-up clients don't always tell you what they think and what they want and what they don't like. You see it in the results. But young people are brutally honest. And it's made me realize that if I want to keep my customer happy, I need to really pick up on the subtleties. I need to really listen to what they want and they need. Working with young people has certainly made me more customer centric. And also the reverse mentoring. It's really made me rethink how I judge talent, how we really, the kind of talent that we need to bring into companies. What comes to my mind is one of the research pieces that Ipsos did a couple of years ago that looked at the brand perceptions of different nations across the world. And interestingly, the UK brand was globally associated with science and innovation. So around the world, people think the UK is very innovative. Now, if we are going to deliver on that, we need to be great at problem solving. We need to be great at diversity of thinking. We need to be pretty resilient. So these are the talents that we need to generate in the UK, because we're not going to compete on cost anymore. The UK is not a low-cost country. And the size of the population, nature of the economy is that we are no longer going to be able to compete on cost in commoditized markets. What we do have is innovation, science, and we really need to nurture that. And to Fawzia's point, that's why we need that diversity of thinking and talent in companies. And what better way than the Migrant Leaders way? That's my view, of course. So I wonder, we've got about 10 minutes left. I wonder if there are any other points or questions anyone would like to discuss or ask. Stephen.
Hi there, it's a pleasure to meet you. I'm Steve Exley. I'm the Group Finance Director at Hampshire Cricket Club at the Aegis Bowl. I was just wondering, Paul, if you had any statistics on the percentage of children that went into sixth form education or went on to university that go to Wembley High.
Yeah, we can reel them off, I think, Stephen. And I just want to say, Hampshire Cricket, wow, that's pretty awesome. Shane Warne played there, didn't he? He was one of your great.
That's the great thing about cricket, I think, and especially what we're trying to do here at the minute. We're trying to actively go out into underserved urban areas and break down the barriers. So our owner here, Rod Bransgrove, he's very passionate about that. So we've started off a programme which other cricket clubs around the country are trying to follow now. So we went out into the Flowers district in Southampton and provided children there with bats and balls and coaching and cricket nets. And it's really great. They've started off their own cricket team there now. And these are children that otherwise might have had a barrier to entering that sport. Because I think traditionally, if you look at the number of professional cricketers, a large percentage of them come from independent schools. And we're trying to break that down as a barrier, really. So from that team that we started 2 years ago now, the Hampshire Hawks, we've brought 3 children from there that have come into our pathway scheme in the cricket club, and otherwise they wouldn't have had that opportunity. So it's been a really great success story for us. It's we're going to try and replicate that in Portsmouth and up in Basingstoke as well and spread that programme out. But ECB are also going to roll that across other counties across the country, which again is just breaking down those barriers and giving children that wouldn't otherwise have the opportunity to go and do that, to have the opportunity to get access to first class coaching and maybe look at cricket as a career. So
yes, and Stephen, that's a delight for me. I'm a big cricket fan, and I remember the times when actually the England cricket team had more kids from a working class background than it did from a public school background. And that has changed remarkably over the years. I don't know what that says for society or how cricket's being promoted in schools, but it's the sort of thing where you come into an institution like ours and have a captive audience. Everyone would want to be there. I'm afraid you don't have enough coaches for us. In terms of our statistics, you're asking how many go on into sixth form. We have a cohort about 210, 215 in year 11. Tommy, correct me my figures if I'm wrong here. To our sixth form, because we are such a highly academically achieving school, we deal in A levels primarily, almost entirely now. And that is just that we used to do more vocational qualifications such as BTECs. We do just do A levels because so many children achieve so highly. So from our sixth form, it's basically almost entirely made of our year 11s. We have a capacity of about 150 coming into our sixth form. And they're almost all from our own school. And then the rest of our students, we work, they will all go on to post-16 education. They all go on to really, really great places. And Emma and the team will help place them in places which are absolutely spot on for them. From our 150 at university, it was typically around about 100% going on to university, Steve. And now I would say that's shifting more to probably about, I would anticipate, the more I talk to the kids, the more I'm seeing the change with it here. Probably I would say this year, I wouldn't be surprised if we're 90, 92, 93% to university, but the rest are going into apprenticeships, and typically degree apprenticeships. They're shooting for the absolute very best. And the universities they go to, we're typically 50% plus Russell Group. Okay, so with all of those metrics, all of this outperforms background by a long distance. It's the reality is we have developed a methodology of teaching and learning in this school, which enables kids from backgrounds who wouldn't get near university to go to Imperial. That bit we can do. What we have noted with our students is once they go to university, some of them, yes, they do, that they pick up the skills and the understanding they need to go on to the next stage, and they get onto their degree pathways. They get onto their career pathways, but a lot of them are going there and they don't know how to get any work experience. They don't know how to get onto an internship. They don't really understand what it means to try for a graduate trainee program. They don't know about the degree apprenticeship routes, not in the same way that they can understand it if someone who is from that background sits there and tells them about it. So we keep educating them as educators, but they are missing that connection.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's what we need someone to come in and tell them about.
And I think I don't come from a privileged background either. So for me, going into, I was the first person in my family to go to university. And when I went there, I was quite lucky really, because I knew when I was at school, and I think similar to what you're doing now really resonates with me, because I went out for a week's work experience at a local firm of accountants that my comprehensive school set up. And I knew then from like year 10 onwards, that was what I wanted to do. I wanted to be an accountant. So I kind of picked my A-levels that would help me get an accountancy degree. Went into university, did the qualifications there. So I was fully exam qualified to be an accountant when I left university. So that made me more attractive to employers then when I was going out and writing letters and asking for trainee schemes, because they didn't have to spend years training you up, you're straight out earning money for them. So kind of using those qualifications to help you later in line. But when I was at university, I must have wrote close to 100 letters every summer to different firms of accountants trying to get just like some work experience. And fortunately, one of those did come back and I did manage to get but you do have to have quite a lot of resilience, I think, and a thick skin, and be prepared to get a lot.
I've told the kids that. We've all literally told the kids that. Said, listen, you're putting out for degree apprenticeships. These things are more competitive than degrees these days. You want to go for these universities, it's going to be. You want to go for these careers, it's tough. You can put out 50 applications and get maybe 1 or 2 offers from it if you're lucky. That's what you've got to be ready to do. But that's a teacher telling them it.
Having that grit and determination, that resilience is really
and when you turn around and say to them, I did that and now look where I'm at, you know, all they hear out there is just people are at the top, but they can't see that connective tissue. We can get them to a point, but you guys are that connective tissue that takes them up to that point. And unless that's real in your life, you cannot internalize it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's great to hear.
So Paul, Stephen, let me describe this to you numerically. I think resilience and those characteristics are the spice in this recipe, but the young people need the ingredients as well. Because if you look at the top companies' work experience funnel, it looks like this. So there are a handful of internships while you're at university. There are a handful of internships in top companies, and 2,000 people who applied to each position. Who's going to get them? The one with the connections. Therefore, no matter how well they achieve academically, their chances of getting those top company internships during their university studies is very little. And therefore, we need to engage with the young people when they're much younger, get those top company experiences, for example, through Migrant Leaders on their CVs, so that when they do apply to those top company internships at university, they have a much higher probability of landing those internships. What happens when they land those internships in those top companies in their summer of their penultimate year at university? They then get the graduate job.
Of course they do.
You know, that's how it works. It's really not rocket science. It's a tried and tested formula. And that's what we're trying to do with Migrant Leaders. I remember one of my mentees, Luke, one of the first mentees at Migrant Leaders actually, was studying accounting and finance in a Russell Group university through his own hard work and talent, and was only going for small accountancy firms for his work experiences. I pushed him to only apply for the Big Four, and then coached him to get the summer internship at EY. He's now in year 3 working in a graduate role in EY. and he had all the ingredients, but it really needs that coaching, it needs that insight and a little bit of confidence and psychological backing for our young people so that they go for those top jobs.
Ellen, can I just add a point to that? Because we see some of our students go out there, they do that. What is important to understand is when you affect a child's life like that lad you're talking about there, Elham, it doesn't just change his life. There is a ripple effect in the community. You have siblings, you have cousins. Forget his own children one day, their lives being transformed, but it ripples through a community, and he will go out there now, and I guarantee you, help another 10, 15,
well,
20
I can
people.
tell you, this young man, his parents are Nigerian migrants, and he is sibling number 5 of 5 siblings who grew up in London. So yes, he's very underrepresented in the big 4 accounting firms.
There you go, and therefore you're not going to have a bigger lever for social change than that.
Absolutely. So with that in mind, unless anyone has any final comments, we can finish on time, and thank you everyone for joining us tonight. Thank you so much.
Fantastic.
Thank you guys. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good weekend.
Have a great weekend.